So again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Launch New York's first webinar of the year, AI for Startups, Increasing Productivity While Protecting Your Ideas. My name is Sydney Sanders, and I serve as the Marketing and Engagement Manager here at Launch. Again, welcome, and would like to offer a quick welcome to Launch New York's President and CEO, Dr. Marnie Levine.
Hi, all. Thanks so much for joining today. Thanks, Sid.
Of course. So before we jump in the topic, wanted to go over a little bit about Launch New York for those who may not be familiar with us. So Launch New York is a nonprofit organization that's focused on supporting high growth startups across upstate New York, really working to build the innovation and the local economies. We serve 36 counties in New York State, spanning from Buffalo to Albany, helping high growth founders access the tools and support they need to scale. And since our launch, we've supported over 1,900 startups through mentorship, creating nearly 10,000 jobs, and have made direct investments in 112 companies as of this December. Launch New York provides pro bono mentorship through our entrepreneurs and residents who work closely with our startups, several of whom are on the call with us today, and access to the most active seed fund in New York State. Additionally, we have our specialty programs designed to help a wide range of founders with targeted support for our under-resourced founders through our Founders Go Big program and founders who are developing clean energy solutions through our Eco Incubator. Excuse me. And then we recently launched our technical assistance program this past October, providing startups with pro bono access to legal, financial, and banking services. And for more information on all three of those programs, you can visit launchnewyork.org. Excuse me. In addition to supporting our founders with mentorship, Launch New York provides access to equity capital through our Invest Local financing programs. And to date, we've invested over $17 million into 112 companies through our nonprofit seed fund and two limited partner funds, one that just closed last year. We also have a network of 420 as of today accredited investors who have the opportunity to invest in our companies featured on our investor network for as little as $10,000. And if you're an accredited investor and are interested in learning more about investing with Launch, please again visit our website or one of our team members will message you in our chat. Now, I'm excited to introduce our presenter today, Anthony Capiz. Anthony is the Executive Director of the Central District Management Association in Albany, New York, and is an entrepreneur and resident at the Steam Garden Incubator, where he supports startups and small businesses every day. He's also a true AI power user. We learned this from Anthony yesterday, that he was among the first 1% of ChatGPT users when it originally launched and is ranked in the top 10% of users globally in 2025. So what does that mean? He spent a lot of time talking to AI, so we don't have to. And with that, in turn, I'll turn it over to Anthony to get our presentation started for today.
Good morning, everybody. It also could mean I have no friends, but we try not to go there right away. So that's what it is. Welcome, everybody. I hope to make this as interactive as possible. So feel free to post questions and things as we go along here. I'm going to try to talk quickly but succinctly and try to cover some of these topics. And let me get my presentation up here for you to start. So welcome, and move all these screens around so you can see, hopefully everybody, guys, can we see the slide? Are we good?
We are good. All good.
All right, that phase one complete. We're online. That's helpful. Let me get my preview going so I can see what you're seeing. All right, so let me get that up and operating here. 1 second. Presenter view, helpful all the time. Okay. So today's roadmap, real simple. Just going to go over for the folks that may not be aware of just some of the basics of AI. Then I'm going to get a little bit into some meat and potatoes with the safety and security aspect. Kind of boring, but really super important before you dive your company or your entity deep into AI, that we just have to think about these things. And I say that because I've given the presentation quite a few times to many layers of government and even federal agencies where they just didn't realize some of the risks they were taking, and I'll get into that. Then I got some fun stuff, some interactive things that you can kind of take home with you, if you will, and try out. And then hopefully we'll squeeze in a little bit of time at the end for some, you know, personal assistance. If somebody has specific questions, we can maybe dive a little bit into those things. So with that being said, let's roll here. So there's a poll. I would love for all of you to take a second. This will give me some gauging that I can maybe accommodate some of the comments and things that I'm going to make, and also gauge how I'm going to go through it. But it also would be helpful for everybody to know where we are. So the poll should be up and running. I see it, so we're good to go. All right. So why is this relevant, this conversation with startups and AI and working to establish goals? Well, I want to give you an example of how rapidly changing I think all of this is, and without getting technical, we're seeing major companies looking at recruitment and understanding who is out there in the job market. And on both the good and the positive side, are they hiring from people who have built their resumes on AI, they like it or don't like it, or are they hiring people based on their experience with AI? So recently, the IRS is an example, and this just kind of shows you where we're going on this. They're asking people as part of the interview process to write a 10-page summary of The Great Gatsby, to create a 200-word executive summary, translate it into Spanish and Mandarin or whatever they're putting on their test of the day. And they want to test the workflow of their employees. They want to test, are you capable of doing these things? All right. And that's where we're headed with this, right? So if you're not AI literate, you're going to fall behind the curve. We're going to touch on some of that. Okay. So what is AI? Real briefly, it's the simulation of human intelligence with a machine, right? It's programmed to be that. And it's based on something called machine learning or learned language models, right? Again, basic stuff, but not everybody's up on that. And it's the synthesis of everything it's learned, all right, and how it interacts with us, right? So what does that mean to us? Well, if you don't know it, you will as of right now, that all those chats, all those texts, all those files in your Google Drive, your Office files, and your online files, you've helped build AI. All those privacy settings that you've had is okay to share. When you have predictive texting on your phone, that's all learned language stored in computers. It's being retrieved every moment of every day. And as we might see from a Terminator movie, they're getting smarter and smarter every day. And we're a part of its teaching and part of its training. So be aware of that. We're going to touch on some of that in just a minute. But so as far as we're concerned, data in, data out. Everything we're giving it, everything it's going to give back to us. But the foundations of this over the last year or 2 years has been incredibly rapidly changing. So how do we want to think about AI, right? In the context of how we're using it without the safety parameters, all that sort of stuff, this is a collaborative tool. All right. We don't want AI in its state to be the pilot. Okay. We do not want it to run our companies. We do not want it to do these things unless, of course, it's an AI company. But even that, we want to work alongside of it, right? You need to always remember, no matter what you're doing and what every prompt, you have to be in control. The human end game has to play in this for right now. I received an email as a request to set up a meeting. And in the end of it, I remember seeing, be sure to insert your name here. Be sure to do this. Be sure to do that. And it was obviously ChatGPT written. It really ruined the credibility of the person who sent me that email creating an AI. I have no problem with that. But I pointed it out to the person and I said, you really need to make sure your end game is on board because it can ruin your credibility. So again, a co-pilot, but always maintain your oversight. So where are we right now, right? The AI highway is growing massively. There's such investment, billions of dollars being invested in it. I will talk about insurance, but I asked an insurance company about AI, And one of the agents said to me, the broker actually said, Anthony, I want you to think about it in the context of an insurance company. And he said, we're on a highway doing 150 miles an hour with no guardrails. There's no lights, there's no street signs, and there's a bridge out ahead. And we're just barreling at it. The adaptation rate is unbelievable. You can see it. I mean, just look at the growth chart of the number of data generated tools. It's just incredible. These stats are just blowing up every day. So we need to be careful. All right. That goes to the next section of this ethical AI oversight, right? As a founder, as a company, how are you using your AI tools and are you checking the work? If you're using something like Gronk, you've got to worry about the outcomes, the accuracy of the data, and anything you use, ChatGPT, Claude, any of those tools, make sure it's right. Double check it because it could be wrong. And if you're a founder doing a presentation, if you're a startup pitching, if you've got this sort of stuff and you've created content, you could ruin your credibility. So again, you have to be ethical. You also have to deal with some issues about the insights of the data, right? Where is it coming from? I could tell you right now, there are tools available that no matter what your business is, no matter what you're doing, I can data mine, I can scrape data from any of the proprietary clients that you might be dealing with or your competitors or anything. You can buy those tools, you can find it on the dark web, you can get human data, all these things. And if anybody watched the news in the last day or so, Doge is now in trouble because all the Social Security Administration may or may not have been leaked. Okay, so keep that in mind. There are ethics to this, but data mining is a real thing. Data scraping is a real thing. And I've done a number of projects with people, and we have run into roadblocks. And I can tell you with some really good coders, even things behind paywalls are accessible. So be very aware of that. And if you're working with somebody who's helping you, if you're working with a coder, if you're working with somebody, make sure they understand your rules, your ethics as it relates to what you're trying to do. Okay. You do not want to end up on the wrong end of that stick. So another part of that, talking to government agency, I gave a presentation. I won't throw them under the bus, but I gave a presentation to some folks who deal with, let's just say, government funds. And it was a group of professionals. And, they run entities like municipalities and things like that. And they were talking about the conversations that their employees were having with AI, and they were thrilled in some cases, things like Adobe Acrobat, right? Here's Adobe Acrobat, innocent enough. It's a document reader. We all have it on our computers, but the latest version, you have to click OK to be a part of their AI. Would you like us to summarize? AI is asking you, would you like me to summarize this document for you? Well, you have just now shared that. So imagine the scenario, you're a municipal HR person, and someone just submitted to you their health record so they could maybe get family leave or going for treatment or something like that. And let me summarize this. I don't want to read 10 pages. I'll summarize it in AI. You've now agreed to share that to Adobe, right? So I guess where you have to have your foundation based is who's in your company, who's in your firm, who's using your software and tools, and what are you using and what are the access points, right? Where are the weak links? And you have to think that public room rule is something that the industry kind of talks about. If you can't sit there and scream it out loud in a public space, you probably shouldn't be sharing it to AI. So that's a really important piece of this, right? So also for founders, startups, you're very tempted to work with IP, writing code, searching code. You have inherent risks in that, okay? If you're going to provide that in certain forums, you could potentially leak your IP to somebody, right? You also have to understand that there's hallucination risks and your IP data can get ruined, and write code that's malicious, and also code that slows down your website. A lot of people are using AI generators to build websites. Fantastic. But when you test them in the real world, they may or may not run perfectly. So there's some crossover in that. Again, going back to that human oversight, if you're hiring a coder, if there are many people who work with folks overseas, did they put malicious code in there? Can you check it? And here's the best part. You could ask AI to go through the code and look for the risks, and it might be able to help you with that. But remember, you're risking a lot. So I want you to be real careful. And that golden rule again, if it's not something you want to share publicly, be aware and provide some guardrails for it, okay? So in an organization, no matter how small, if you're a 1-person or a 10-person operation, it's probably really important to have policy. What is our rules? What is it that we want to say that we use it for and what we don't use it for? Okay. So thinking about it, and I actually have a booklet that I can share to launch. What are the risks? The data privacy, bias and fairness if you're using it for research and data, where's the sources of the research and data? If you're using something like Gronk, you're going to end up with some issues with transparency and where it came from. The cybersecurity vulnerabilities I'll talk about in the next slide. Your dependence as an organization on AI, did you follow through in what it told you? And did it actually do the right work? If you're an entity that's going to be working with data and information, we have clients here in the Steam Garden that are working in the healthcare industry or even data with government. Are you going to be compliant with the regulations? Are you going to be compliant with their levels no matter where you put this AI information? And also, if you're working with a vendor, I'm going to go to number 8 there. If you're hiring a vendor, do they know your policies on AI? Do they know your ethics? Do they know the controls that you've set in place with your information that, Fred and Wilma, who work for that person, are not just going to throw up all of your IP into an LLM and it's just going to be out there now, right? So it's not just you, it's who you're working with and who your vendors are and what the structure is. So be very careful. Why is that so important? And I know this stuff is kind of boring, but it's super important. Your guardrails. Speaking to that insurance agent that I mentioned to you earlier, right? Talking about the road being out ahead. The conversation was basically this. When cybersecurity insurance first came out, it was a couple $100. They didn't really care much about it. They didn't understand the inherent risks, right? Well, then all of a sudden, the big companies started getting hit. Credit cards, grocery stores, TJ Maxx, all those guys started getting hit. Well, that changed everything as far as insurance. So if you're putting data out, or you're collecting data on people, if you end up with credit card information behind the scenes and you're analyzing purchase rates and you're analyzing your customers' personas, okay, that data is now yours. Are you protected? And the conversation with the insurance company that scared the whatever out of me was they don't even know what it is. They're still trying to figure out, and if you're familiar with the different types of insurance, is it errors and omissions? Is it cyber insurance? Is it IP property protection? Or is it directors and officers insurance for your board of directors if something gets out? They're not 100% sure yet, but you should have a policy that protects you and says, hey, we're doing the best to be diligent to protect ourselves. Our general liability insurance should cover this, but they're still working on it. There are some policies out there that have been coming out about how to protect yourself, because here's the big thing. If you get hacked, if your computer gets hacked, and you have data on your laptop or it gets stolen or it's taken out, you have been attacked. Okay, that's cyber attacks. I'm not so sure the insurance industry is comfortable with the notion that you put it out there, you took the risk, and we're not necessarily going to protect you from liability. So they're still working on that. So keep that in mind as you go forward on this, okay? All right. Let's have a little bit more fun. I'm sorry about the evils of AI, beginning of all this. That's not what I'm trying to scare you. I'm not trying to do this, but over the last couple of years, as I've been talking to people and giving these presentations, that first part of the conversation, often in any of these TikTok videos or anything you see online is, hey, the next big thing in AI is this. Well, there's inherent risks, and we need to know, especially as a startup company, especially if you're dealing with the data, what are those risks? So I try not to beat a dead horse on that, but have a policy, know what you're doing, know what your partners are doing, and know what everybody else around you is doing with the technology you're using in your office. So I want to share with you real quick an example some platform information, right? So one of the questions that comes up all the time is, and I've got a whole bunch of examples of this, what's the best tool to do what I need to do, right? What are the tools, right? So you got Claude, you've got ChatGPT, Gemini is coming up as a dark horse through the middle Perplexity, which is great. Of course, Google search and Google's generative, their AI tools. There's visual ones. I'll get more detail that, but one of the things everybody's talking about is what are the best tools? And there are ways to figure that out. Okay. I love this particular comic because it relates a lot to small businesses. There's Dennis who's demonstrating his Arrow business, and he doesn't wonder why he's getting any customers, right? It's oversimplified, but in using your tools, I think it's really important that if you're developing, say, for example, using AI to develop your customer's persona, and whether you use Chat or Claude or any of those tools, are you asking the right questions? Are you looking at it from the perspective that's appropriate, right? And also, when you're developing this, are you going down the right path for what you're trying to do? So I just got to move something here, guys, so I can put something on the screen for you. All right. This would be, and I don't know if they're on the call or not, but let's throw up. Sorry, let me just change my share here. Here it is. Okay. So one of the questions that came up was, and hopefully you can see, I know it's probably going to be small, folks, and let me see if I can blow it up for you a little bit. That helps. So somebody posted a question from one of the companies, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Kio. They wanted to know, how can I use AI to build a large volume pre-order sales for their company? And what I wanted to do is demonstrate here about using AI to solve your problem, but also writing the prompt to solve your problem, right? So this was the question that was raised. Help me write a prompt. Oh, my screen just went dark for a second. Stand by. Help me write a prompt for the following question. How can I use AI to build large volume pre-order sales for my company? And what I did was I threw in the source of their website. And I want AI to help me answer the question. So in this case, I'm given a question. How do I use AI as a tool? I'm trying to develop customer persona, trying to develop my customer outcome. And I want AI to help me discover the answers to these questions. So the prompt is very direct in the sense of I want to know what personas are, what the social medias they might use, what's my effective rate of return. I'll cover AEO in a minute, which is the opposite of SEO using AI. And I put all these things in here, and I got to shrink it for you now. So it understood my question in the beginning, and I asked it to stack everything. So here's what it did. It created the prompt for me to take this to the next level, right? I want to know all these things, direct to consumer marketing. It plotted out everything I need to know about my customer's persona, the social media strategy for those types of people based on the product that I just posted their domain in here, who it could be. And I wanted, and it did all this on its own, developed a scalable, data-informed, AI-driven strategy to generate high intent demand for pre-orders and product rollout. The basic question that was given me, one sentence. It asked to break down the demographics. It said, do you want me to break them down? What are the pain points for those demographics? The customers that we're talking about? What are the triggers that have made them in the past move to purchase? I will tell you, as we're just talking about this, a very good friend of mine who was an SEO company, they've now moved into AI, and analytics. They are buying and paying for huge amounts of data, vast amounts of data that, and I'll talk about proactive AI generation. And this tool, even the free tools here, can get you somewhere on some of these things, right? So identify where these clients are. Where do people go that might be interested in this particular product for cooling my forehead? Who are the micro influencers? This is the prompt that it is writing for me to solve that problem. in developing my customer's persona and understanding them. Go through all the organic components of my clients. And then, do you want me to identify key customer questions that might want to be answered? Identifying the brand, aligning the brand, the execution of the brand, and then the final output. It's going to start asking me, do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that? If you can see the power of having AI help you write the prompt to solve your problem, half of your problem is solved. And then, of course, what's brilliant about it is it asks you to break it down. Do you want me to break it down into question banks and all these types of things? And so what I did was I said, yes, please break down the strategy into modular prompts as per experts. So that's another component that we'll talk about in just a second, but about breaking prompts down based on who the expert in that field is. Asking your AI to identify the experts in the field, right? So it did. Here it is. It gave me everything that the question asked. It asked me some questions, which we'll talk about. And then it gets right down to the modular breakdown, right? Customer discovery expert, marketing strategy experts, social growth experts, AEO and SEO experts. It gives you all of those prompts relative to that one line, single question we asked chat. How do I do this? What should I do? So executing your prompt is a critical thing. And if you don't know what to prompt, ask the AI to help you, okay? And then the next level list is I can certainly took this, everything we just discussed, and I threw it in a program that I want to share with you. It's called Notebook LM. Notebook LM is a product of Google. It's technically still experimental, but it has become very mainstream. If you've never used Notebook LM, please give it a try today. So what I did, and I have to hide all this Zoom voodoo here to get this up here, but I took the information that I just had, that it was created by chat, and I threw it in Notebook LM. So it created that source information here. I use it as a source. I add sources. What's great about this tool is you can come in here, you can upload files, you can provide website links, a Drive file, a copy text. The reason Drive is in here is because I'm linked with Google Drive. You can put Copilot in there, whatever you want. You can change the type of research it's going to do. So even if you just put a YouTube video in there, it'll transcribe it and get you the details from a YouTube video. If you're looking for expert information to add to your prompt, I'm going to show you this. And what it did is it took all that information and it generated this infographic. I asked it to generate an infographic for me. I didn't touch this. This was all done based on that prompt and what the type of information it is this can be used. And I didn't specify what it could be used for, but Notebook LM created this infographic for me. Again, very plain, very basic, because I didn't give it a lot of instructions, but it didn't have any of this before I gave it to him. And it gave us this headband information based on the product. Then I asked it to break everything I did down so I can demonstrate it to other people. And look at what LM does for me. It takes that information, here's the product, and then it breaks down the core benefits based on the research that I've given it, right? These are things just from the website link and the questions that I asked it, right? In real time, it did all this in a matter of seconds. So if you're trying to demonstrate your product and you want to do it in real time, Notebook LM is an awesome tool for that, right? Here's your information in-house or outside of the house. Very, very helpful, right? So let's go back here. So that's just one example of how to use it in that context. I want to show you this also. Notebook LM, a tool, powerful, powerful tool. I was in a meeting with a bunch of people, and there was like 40, 50 people on the call, and they wanted a summary from each of the people that are part of an economic development group of folks here in Albany, an analytic report on everything they know about their street, their district, their area for economic development strategies. So I have, I don't know, like 15 or 20 different studies over the time I've been in my job. And I uploaded all those sources of information to Notebook LM. Think about this from your founder's perspective, right? Your data summaries, your client personas, all these types of things. And you want to get this information coalesced in a way, right? So one of the things you do is you can create a summary of all of your plans. In this particular case, I did this. Here's our plans. I asked it to develop the main areas of opportunity. What were the key themes? And I'm talking about volumes of pages here, hundreds of pages of data broken down quickly and effectively. And then I can go through each of these sections, public transit, information, all these things, quickly and easily breaking it down for thought process, right? But watch this. If you haven't seen this before, it's unbelievable. Let me get it started for you. So it's going to take everything I've given it and turn that into a podcast. I can dedicate, I want a 5-minute podcast, I want a 30-minute podcast, whatever it is, and this is what it creates.
Detailed 2015 university study, and even info on things like the Steam Garden Incubator. So quite a range.
A real historical perspective then, alongside the current snapshot. So our mission today is, well, to unpack what Central Avenue is facing, look at its, its real assets, and explore this roadmap that aims to make it a thriving 20.
But wait a minute. That's all well and good, and I can listen to a 30-minute presentation on my business district, but I want to ask it some questions. So now Notebook LM.
Deep dive. We sift through stacks of information to find the insights you really need.
That's right.
And today we're heading into the heart of urban revitalization, looking specifically at Central Avenue in Albany, New York.
Yeah.
Whoa, did someone just break the fourth wall? Let's hear it.
Yes, I did break your fourth wall. I want to know what the general themes of all of the studies are and what the top 3 items are.
Oh, we love it when you check in.
Absolutely. Breaking the fourth wall is encouraged here.
Okay, let's unpack this right away.
You're asking for the big picture themes spanning decades of planning.
Yeah, the general themes really boil down to 3 things based on all these documents.
First, consistently, there's the goal to reestablish Central Avenue as a symbolic
Right.
main.
So that's 30 years of boring stuff, but you get the idea of using Notebook LM, a free product from Google, to provide analytics, slideshows. You can create slide decks, infographics, all of those types of things in real time. And again, I'm demonstrating this as free tools, okay? And how this is all relevant to helping your business understand its business and all the details of itself, right? And your clients, right? So let me go back over here. Let me change my share. If I can find the share button, we'll be in really good shape. There it is. I'm going to share back to our presentation. All right. Hopefully you can see that. So where are we right now? Okay. Let me get my preview screen up here. Sorry, guys. Oops, wrong thing. Stand by 1 second. There we go. And there. Okay. So right now, it's really important understanding your customer persona and using these AI tools to get through there. The days of SEO in your company, let me just not seeing my preview, guys. So let me just throw it, make sure I'm on the right site here, is over. It's now AEO. Google searches, that is a huge number I wanted to demonstrate for you. So if you're talking about your product online and you're counting on search engines to help you, it is now a new world. It's AI searches. Everything in your phone, everything in Google, everything that people use is AI related. So if you're not writing your content, as we just demonstrated, using AI to better enhance the output that you're looking for your product, your service, or whatever it is, the blue link click is slowly going away. It's not dead, but it's going away. All right. People are searching using AI and getting in-depth knowledge and information right at their fingertips. Okay. The difference between traditional SEO for your product and the new AEO, right, is questions as opposed to where's the best pizzeria in town to where's the best pizzeria near me to get Detroit style pizza with cup and char pepperoni like they have in Western New York, and how far will I have to drive and map me to get it, right? Which, by the way, that is something I have done. That's not fantasy world. I've done that. And that's the kind of questions AI is able to answer where a blue link is not, okay? So are you ready for that? Are you ready for that with your business, your website, your tools, and all the things you're doing in your company? This is not going away. This is happening in real time. So just an overview of that. The old way of doing things, search, click, visit, convert. The new way, search, answer, respond. It's looking for brand recall. If I'm making a product and I want people to find it, I'm going to be using it on Amazon. I don't care where I'm using it now. Amazon uses Rufus. You've got to write your content to find those products and present your product or service in a way that it's easy to find in a conversational tone in AI, right? So if you want to lift your brand, that's what you're going to need to do and drive traffic to your site and hopefully sell some product. I'm not going to get into too details. This will be in, you can do the research on this one. But it's to understand how that works, how you fly around in these different components, time is of the essence here, but feel free to dig into this a little bit about AEO in your company and ask for some help on it. As you're thinking about writing and responding to prompts that people are putting out there in search for your product, you just have to remember everything you do is relative to your output equals whatever you give it, right? So the other part is maintaining freshness, right? It's really important that everything you're putting out there, everything you're creating remains fresh. AI tools, search engines, all these things that are using all these interactive tools, make sure you're keeping your content fresh. It's going to look for old data and it's going to not find it. It's just going to say, that's old, I don't want it. So what does that mean? Well, if you're using AI, there's predictive AI now, right? If you're looking for your customers, all right, as opposed to saying, where do people buy pizza? Now you want it to actually be out there searching for you about trends. And I have a study that's going to be in the links from this from a company called BB Clark and Myers. They are using predictive AI to follow trends for their clients, such as Pepsi and Firestone and companies like that, to understand where their clients are going, what they're buying, where they're shopping, how they're doing it with paid data research, not just reactive, but predictive AI, right? So it's not a matter of what you know today, it's what you know that's going to happen tomorrow. And that's a key factor in learning about using AI in the real world today and what questions you're going to ask your AI. It's a matter of what's in the present, what's in the moment, and what's immediate right now. And studying that for developing your products, right? If you're trying to get an understanding of who's going to buy your product, who, what, where, when, and how, you better be predictive, not what you know from the past, but what's going to happen. So that's really, really, really important. And also analyzing trends. Are people not doing this? Are people not doing that? You can teach your AI to keep track of those things for you, okay? All right, so let's talk again a little bit about prompting for some of these things. I don't want you to pretend for a minute that you have to be a master prompt engineer, but it really is important to get what you want out of your tool, right? Vague input, vague output, right? So understanding, and I use the word persona a lot in very different contexts here, but when you're talking to your chat, are you building it in a way that you've asked it to be the right persona for what you're trying to do? A scientist, an experimental person, a marketing person, all these types of things. Is the context correct? Is the format correct? Some of the other things when you're talking to AI is before you answer me, give me a list of questions I should be asking based on the prompt to give you a better insight into what I want. Are you having a conversation with your AI to deliver back to you exactly what you want? It's not just a one and done kind of a thing. It's asking it to ask you, what do you want to know? Because you can frame in context just about anything. But you know what? Maybe you're critically thinking in one direction, but maybe there's 100 ways to think about it differently. Give it the option to do that. Turn it into your consultant, right? And it also forces you to look a little bit about what did I not know, right? And don't assume anything, especially as a startup company. Don't assume you know the answers, right? Um, I know this is going to sound really weird and a little bit out of science fiction, but reward your AI with good prompts. You're teaching it as you use it. Let it know it did a good job. Let it know that, wow, that was terrible. You gave me a horrible response on that. I asked for Detroit pizza. You showed me Chicago deep dish, garbage. I don't want that. I want you to be more careful when you do these researches. Again, that's a real life example. Just so, ask it and train it to give you more solid performances in what you're doing, and teach it your script. Okay, teach it to know what you know and what you want it to know. Um, in a way, it's sort of thinking like, how do I force my AI to think the way I do, and then give me feedback based on it, as if I had the greatest employee in the world that was my mindset, my work person, but also had the ability to correct me if I was wrong without the bias, and you don't have to fire them. You can just fix it. It's easier that way. No talk back. These are available. These things, these critical thinking things for AI prompt writing are there for you to take, by the way. These will be in the presentation. Again, I'm going to rehash this. Don't just ask it a question. Treat it like a conversation. I was on my way to Florida, driving in the car. If you don't have the voice app for ChatGPT, by all means, download it on your phone and have some fun with it. There was something that had happened in the news that day, and I was kind of questioning the founding fathers' understanding of it. Yes, I know I'm that kind of boring person. Please don't judge me. But I had a conversation with my AI for 45 minutes on the Federalist Papers and what it meant in relative to different separations of powers in the Constitution. I had one of the greatest conversations ever about it, but you can do that with anything, whether it's your customers, whether it's your product, whether it's developing your product. While you're driving, while you're doing, have a conversation about what you need to do, understanding your organization, give it a website and say, hey, are we missing anything here? Or have it analyze a product that you're interested in or a company that you want to see as your competitor. Have a conversation with it. Treat your AI like a conversation. Start uploading documents safely to your AI to train them who you are and what you are. And then always refine. Wow, it's 12:42 already. Keep in mind that the final output is always up to you. I got to hustle here, guys, because we're running out of time. I do want to talk to you a little bit about creating chats or creating GPTs. If you're not familiar with creating GPTs, go on ChatGPT, Claude, Anthropic, one of those. If you want to create reoccurring tools, things you do on a regular basis that it can go out and look, I will tell you, here's an example of one. I like to play the lottery. I want to be a billionaire based on the latest things, right? So I had to analyze a year's worth of play slips. It gave me my top numbers, and then I asked it to take a look at the numbers and tell me which of my numbers were the most reoccurring numbers on a regular basis, which ones hit the most, which ones hit the least, right? Then I created a GPT that said, every time the Mega Millions is running, using my numbers, I want you to tell me what numbers I hit and what I missed, and then keep track going forward about which things I should be amending my numbers to. Where should I be on my numbers? It means absolutely nothing. And I'm using that as an example. Of course, it's totally random and it's based on an atomic clock. But I have been getting a lot more hits lately. I have to be honest with you. I'm getting like 2 and 3 numbers where I would get 1 before, and I'm kind of going, maybe I'm onto something. I shouldn't be talking about this during my presentation. However, I do want to share with you that doesn't have to be about winning the lottery, which would be a lot easier than starting a business 100%. But it would be nice if you could have your AI act as your assistant to work for you, and creating repeatable workflows, things that you do or need to do, even using your business plan as a GPT, saying, I have to write a business plan. If something changes, you can go back to that GPT and say, hey, this changed, the strategy changed a little bit, update my thing. So you're constantly a work in progress, right? So that's GPTs. Do not hesitate to learn about those. There's great videos online about it. I think I even have some of my stuff to share with you. Okay. Also, add automated chats. There's tools out there like Make and Recurpost and all these different tools out there that can automate routines. So I use this as an example for something we did here. The Albany Police Department sends out notifications about road closings and things like that. An email comes in, Gemini grabs it, says, this is from the Albany Police Department. I have it. Send it to Make, which is a third party. I'll show you a picture of it in a sec here. Send all those lines relative to everything that comes in, every notice they put out, put it in a Google Sheet. I have that Google Sheet attached to OpenAI chat. Look for anything relevant to Central Avenue, where my district is. Find it, summarize it, and give me examples of posts. Parking lot number 2 is going to be closed tomorrow on Central Avenue. That's a good one. Send it to Recur Post, which is a posting tool for social media. You can post like an aggregator. Create in real time from OpenAI a post for TikTok, a post for Twitter, of course, X, Instagram, or whatever, and create those posts for me using the format that I've trained it to. It's going to do your social media for you. The only thing in here that's not listed here is my approval or my social media people's approval. And then it's ready to go out. All right. So automate your routines, automate your social media, have it create social media for you. This is just the example of Make. It's one of the tools. There's Make, Notion, If This, Then That. They're all tools that are out there. You can learn about automating your stuff, right? From email, creating data summaries, giving you a daily report of information about invoices or sales, priority messages, categorizing. And if you're not using automations and you have Gmail, I've just started playing around with their new automations tool. It gives me a daily summary of things that are supposed to be happening that I shouldn't forget about. When Launch New York sends me a note that says, hey, this is a priority because you have a meeting coming up, take a look at, Cassie's or whatever email that just came in because it's a priority because you're doing this tomorrow. Their tool is incredibly powerful and extremely helpful. As far as these tools go, folks, you're going to have to ask for help on that. By the time I made this slide, it's out of date. Okay. There are thousands of these streamlining tools for tasks and routines. Whatever you're doing, if it's driving you crazy and you want to try to automate it, I guarantee you somebody wrote a tool for it. Double check their credibility, read the reviews, ask for analysis, who they are and what they are. But if you look, text, video, imaging, coding, all that stuff, it's all out there. Collaboration tools also. So I wanted to show you this. If you ever get stuck, and I'm going to take this screen and stop sharing it and share with you. Here it is. I got to switch real quick. We do not have a lot of time here, so bear with me. A tool called where are you, tool? Here we go. That's what happens when you have so many windows open. Get back to that one. We don't have time for that right this second. Come on, get open. All right. Is that the same one again? Sorry, folks. I know we're out of time too, but where are you, stinker? All right, you should be able to see AI Studio at this point. Do you see that, folks?
Yeah.
AI Studio is a Google product, also available to you now. Let's say, and I could have used it just then and there. Great example. I can actually share my screen with it and say, I'm having trouble. So think about you're in a spreadsheet and you're working with a spreadsheet, Google AI Studio, and you're saying, boy, and I always say this wrong, but I've got name, city, state, address in different columns in a spreadsheet. I want to concatenate them into one field, and I can never remember the commands to do that, right? I would talk and share my screen and say, it'll talk to me. It'll say, what would you like to do? And I go, I want to know how to do this in spreadsheets. It doesn't matter what the program is. I've used it in Canva. I've used it, whatever. It's learning as it goes. It will actually provide an instant tutor and conversation with you. Google AI Studio, Talk to Gemini Live is a great, powerful tool that I wanted to point out to you. I'm going to try to get through these real quick here. And get through that one. I'm going to show you another one. This is a great tool that we have used. Hopefully it's on the screen. Yep, it is. This was one of our clients, and I'll show you the outcome.
Is your hospital paying for protection or just paying too much? Upgrading to durable, high-performance gowns means fewer replacements.
So one of our clients needed to do a quick pitch video. InVideo is an amazing tool. There's dozens of them out there. This one just happens to be more affordable. And what you can do is you can create using the AI tools, create the pictures, the images. But what's amazing about it is if I go to edit, there's all the slides, all the it created all those based on a script that I gave it, which by the way was written by AI based on the prompt that I gave it, that I wanted to demonstrate these hospital gowns and how powerful they are and why they're different than their competitors and all that. So it wrote all that. And in this particular case, the budget was very low. So everything here is stock image, stock media, but I changed the music a little bit. We can call it, whatever it is, but it generated. So from a prompt to full-fledged video, 45-second video, editing, capacity, street, everything. It's incredible to do a pitch deck like this using a tool like this. If you need to create a video, if you're not using Sora or Google VO or any of those other tools, they are absolutely incredibly powerful. I highly recommend you look into those to try to change the way you do business. They're incredible. Let me get back here. Let's see if there's anything else I can try to squeeze in here in the next minute and a half. So that is that one. I don't have time to do that. And here we go. We did that one. So we're going to go back to the presentation. Sorry, guys. And we're back. So some of the tools, video production, things like that, the heavy hitters, they're all listed there. Again, you'll have that in the presentation. How to use them, they break them down a little bit differently. Best for here in the presentation. Clips, things like that. If you're trying to do your social media, they're better at certain things than others. So those are kind of the overview things, and I will provide the resources curated. I know we need to leave a little bit of time here for questions, and so I will step back. And hopefully, if you guys have some questions, I can help with that and give you some strategic answers. How do we do on time, guys? Did I squeeze it in as much as possible?
You did great, Anthony. Thank you
Okay.
so very much. Philomena, I already see your hand up.
Just for my notes, it's at one side said, don't ask for words, ask for the bottom of a slide. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And you'll have this, so don't
Yeah.
worry about that, okay? Let me go back to it. Don't ask for words. I think you're asking for context.
Ask for context. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's about having a conversation with your AI. Just give it the specifics of the things that you're trying to get, and to underestimate the conversation by just saying this, that, and the other, you're not going to get the outcomes you want. And again, have that dialogue. It never just ends. You can constantly refresh that conversation and give you new context. Okay.
Opening up to anyone who has other questions. Otherwise, we have some pre-submitted ones. Oh, thanks, Madhu. Just saw yours come through the chat. So how expensive are these tools, and what is the monthly total cost?
So the ChatGPT that I'm using is $20 a month. The Claude that I'm using is $20 a month. NVIDIA, for example, is $39 a month. So relatively speaking, at the levels and the models of the LLMs I'm using, I get away pretty cheap, like $20 a month per unit. You don't need to be as over the top as I am. But I literally use ChatGPT to talk to Claude and fix my prompt. I'll say, hey, I built this prompt in ChatGPT. Can you make it better? And Claude will go, well, actually, Chat did a pretty good job, but have you considered this? So I like having both, but that's kind of a nerd thing. But you can get away pretty cheap. There are higher professional levels. If you're going to do deep research, if you're in science company and you're doing deep analytics, you're going to pay for that. The Pro GPT, I think, is $200 a month. It's about the cost of cable.
We had another question in the chat from Luann. If I transfer from my current program, will I have to recreate my history into another app? Or is there a more efficient way to catch the new app up to speed?
Is it Luann? Is that what it is? I don't know if she can speak, but is there a
Yes.
particular one that you're using, Luann? Is there a
I'm-
particular one that you're talking about?
I'm in ChatGPT right now. Sorry, I have a bronchitis. ChatGPT, and I've been using it for about 6 months, so I'm reluctant to lose all that history.
And
But-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But some of the apps you mentioned, and I was just heard about the Notebook one yesterday as well. So I'm very interested in transferring to that.
So just using that as the example, Notebook LM is free. Okay. So are you
Okay.
paying for chat?
Yes.
Okay. My suggestion, if the finance isn't the issue, just start using Notebook LM. You don't have to transfer out, but what you could do is you can export your data.
Okay.
Okay. There are ways to export your data. And Notebook LM is really good at specifically creating outcomes, right? Based on research. Each of these tools, and you'll see that in the slide, has a performance area that they're experts in. They're getting better and better every day. But I prefer Claude for actually writing things. I feel that it does a better job of writing and actually has some pretty good graphic interfaces. Their free level is perfectly fine. You do reach limits, but ChatGPT paid, you can export your data. Claude, you can export your data. And what you could do is take data from either one of those and put them in Notebook LM as a curated source. And take that information and put it over there. Have it do a summary. And the other question I have for you is, and everybody here, if you look at ChatGPT, it has projects. You
Yep.
can save items in basically folders, and you can export that data and then actually have it collaborate the data and collapse it and create summaries of it. So then you can
Brilliant.
export that if you needed to.
Remarkable. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Luann. I do have another question. Anthony, would you be able to create a comparison chart between these tools you've mentioned, their use cases and features?
I
I know there was a couple
probably.
slides.
Yeah, I could probably do that for you before the time is up on this presentation, but I don't want to put you through that. But the answer is yes. Yeah, I mean, you could certainly do that. Again, I'd have to think a little bit about, I would probably ask Claude and Chat the same prompt. Help me write a prompt that will compare these AI tools, what their promises and their strengths are, blah, blah, blah. And what should I be thinking about? And how would I best use you to help me determine which one's best for the use case I'm presenting to it? So again, that critical thinking about what am I asking it to help me critically think through that process. And it'll tell me, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? What is the use case? Probably ask me questions to help me better answer that question. It'll give me that prompt, and then I can probably get both of them to give me an answer. I'd be curious. It's a great experiment to see, well, if Claude was to say, well, use ChatGPT, they're so much better than us. Probably not going to happen, but it'd be a great experiment.
Opening up for one more question because I know we have almost hit time.
And if I could throw in there, if nothing other pops up, by all means, get on YouTube. There's a lot of quacks out there. Get on YouTube. By all means, search for the things that you're trying to figure out. Do not, whatever you're thinking, somebody's already thought it through. So find a video on it and learn how to do it. That's how I do it. I'm boring. I sit home at night and watch these YouTube quackers, and I watch all this stuff and I go, oh, that's so cool. I wish I had thought of that.
Well, seeing as there are no more additional questions in the chat, thank you again, Anthony, for this really great presentation. I can't wait to utilize ChatGPT better. and also try NotebookLM and myself. If anyone has any other questions following this, feel free to drop them in the email that we will be sending tomorrow with a recap of this, as well as all of the references and resources that Anthony said he will share with us. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Stay warm, stay safe, and we'll see you later.
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
guys.
Oh, look at all the applause. I'm thrilled. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you so much, Anthony.
You're very welcome.